till in the night, have a good time. That's what I keep on saying till I lose my mind. Feel like a bird in a sea breeze, shine like a moon in the last sky. Can you believe it till the end of your life? Go with some backs into a room, that's enough for satisfaction. Already know how to have fun, no need of explanation. What's it worth of nothing? What's it worth of nothing? Surely that doesn't matter. Storyteller. What's it worth of nothing? What's it worth of nothing? Oh no, it doesn't matter. So we will never lose. That I didn't ever be taller. That she loves some another. Just cause you think you know me, don't try to change my mind. Happiness of seeing a newborn. All future that to be dream of. Everything will be judged by our mortal life. Go with some labels in the hands. Great papers that I need a fool. Don't mind if they make a mistake. Now don't come back at all. What's the worth of nothing? What's the worth of nothing? Please spread these words forever. Storyteller. What's the worth of nothing? What's the worth of nothing? How can it not matter? The soul we lost one by one. Look around, run around. There's nothing left to smile for. Look around, run around. There's nothing left to cry for. What's the worth of nothing? What's the worth of nothing? Don't ever let it fade out. Storyteller. What's the worth of nothing? What's the worth of nothing? There is no need for sorrow. Great songs will never die.
There you go. Alright, mic is working. Alright, let me see if I can get this fella in here. Howdy folks, Cody here with IronVerse Comics. Just a second, and we gotta make sure all this is working. The balance is gonna be like... Alright, well, there's gonna be some testing. It's been a while since I had a guest. Let's see. We will see. Okay, it's my mic is working through Discord. That's good. Nope. All right. I'll give another call in a second. Okay, that's working. Let's give it another go. Who knows? May work, may not. I mean, guest audio should be on though, and that should work. Yeah, I haven't tested this for a little while. So even if this works, it connects. We might be in some, alright. Alright, he's needing a minute, it looks like. Oh, there you go. Okay. That shit can't be first anyway. Let's try again. We'll see. Again, I don't know how the audio is going to go. Oh, why is it desktop audio muted on this one? Yeah, we'll see. Unsure what's going on. We'll give it a minute. Asked him to shoot out the call instead, just in case it's some weird tech thingy like that. Not a biggie, honestly. I'm in no big hurry. It's gonna take time for anybody to filter in anyway, if anybody's gonna filter in. No, that's fine. What do I want here? That should be fine. Output should be fine, and then we'll listen to that. Yeah, theoretically. So remember, I went through kind of a hassle to be able to have the guest audio without it doubling. I remember that. Oh shit. Oh, and that's again, but there it is. Yes. Yes, I did. And so it should only capture from the Discord. So that should work. And then I mute this one, which means I'll have to do it over here as well. Yes, I think so. Okay, I'm gonna try one more time. I don't know what's going on. He is a family man, so, you know, things come up. So we got some good tracks. I don't know. I don't know. Nope. Okay. I have no idea. Boom. Said I have my timing right? Oh boy. Yes. He said he's on. Okay, yeah, no, I have my timing right. Sometimes things happen. So we'll see. Not that or no. You say no. I'm overthinking, thinking I have something wrong, but I don't. I'm just being left hanging. Okay, that's what it is. Huh. Alright, well. Everything else on my end's working, so I'm not gonna go. We'll just be patient. Folks are stuck with me on a channel that's like 99.9% me just doing this anyway. Oh, I see where he is. Whoops. Hello? You were in a different channel than I thought. But I did find you. I was just gonna do personal one-to-one just so it's easier than this one, because oh no, this should be locked. It says create invite, right?
Can you hear me?
Ah, there we go. Now I can. Let me see. And it looks like.
There we go.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Just had to readjust the microphone.
Gotcha. No worries. We can come in here. That's why I couldn't find it. I was trying the personal call to call. I'm unsure if anybody can jump into this chat or not. Not that somebody is, but just FYI. I don't think it's locked, is it? Let me see. Permissions. Private. Let me see. That's a little bit more of a pain in the ass than I thought it was going to be. Okay. Yeah, it would be easier just to direct Discord call you. Is that possible?
I don't know if I can on the Xbox.
Okay, that's why, and that's why I couldn't get a hold. That would make sense. Gotcha. So, well, we're just gonna have to wing it. If somebody pops in, I will kick them out.
Or we'll just say howdy.
Yep, exactly. Whichever works. But yeah, it looks like you are getting picked up on the stream well too, which is good. I wasn't sure. I haven't had a guest on the channel for a while, and anyway, there's some setup to it I didn't remember, but I didn't have to because it's still working, so we're good. All right, how are you? How's your day been? Howdy.
Howdy, how's your day been?
It's been all right. I'm a bit tired. I was sleeping real well the first week off of work, and this one not so much. So rougher than I could be, but better also than I could be. So I'll take it. I will take it.
It's been interesting, this whole campaign, because it was running the campaign, but also I was going through a promotional thing at work, so I was training my replacements the first half, and then the second half is me getting used to the new building location and what my work now entails.
Gotcha.
So one of the downsides, and this is probably the only one because everything else seems to be an upside, is at my desk almost no cell reception. Like if I want to go in and check my Twitter and do posts, I have to go to a separate part of the building.
Oh, that's fun.
And it took me a couple days to find that little sweet spot. So
yeah, that's how it goes. I get you. Well, I've got the campaign page pulled up. Do you want to talk a little bit about, who you are as a creator, what you've done, and then a little bit about the Recluse and the team and such?
Sure. My name is Scott Kysh. I am a writer-creator. I started out with my own series, Wrath, which I've finished and funded 3 campaigns so far on for chapters 1, 2, and 3. That's a little personal project I started while I was working in the criminal justice system. You know, kind of a mental dump of some of the things that I was kind of experiencing secondhand. But it's about a young boy who had a very traumatic and abusive childhood, and thought he left that behind, but through a series of recent events, learns that he has the ability to take all of that resentment and anger and leftover negativity and can manifest itself in its own physical form. But that's where I got started, you know, and you know, built on some success there, and then I had this great opportunity to work with you on the IronVerse. We can tell that story in a little bit, but we're here with Recluse now, trying to get this thing funded. You know, I always kind of have modest goals and just ask for what I need to finish my projects. So 50% right now, and we only need, it's a little less than 750, but we don't have a lot of time.
No, we're at 7 hours, probably under 7 hours looking at the campaign page. So yeah, anybody catches this while there's still time, please take a look and see if it's for you. I'm throwing out a promotional. I also linked folks to Wrath if they want to check that out. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we can get into like what brought you into it, why you were passionate about doing it, all those kind of things. That would be interesting to me as well. I always love hearing that.
Yeah, sure. So when I first started creating, you know, comics, I just happened to meet one of the owners of Wicked. We were working at the same place at the time, and kind of hit it off a little bit, and he was mentioning that he had his own comic publishing that he was starting, and I was like, I happen to have an idea for a comic, and so I pitched him Wrath. And then I ended up in this neat little group of new creators, including Cody and, you know, the Mythoverse guys and some others, and that's where I learned about Jack Irons and just saw you doing your hustle and like just what you were putting out and the story of Jack Irons, and I was like, this is amazing stuff. Like, I don't understand like why more people aren't into into this and Cody's work. So I think it was after issue 3. You know, I'd already been a huge Jack Irons fan, and you were putting out that you wanted to expand the Jack Iron or the IronVerse, the Jack Irons universe, and that you were looking for people that could possibly, you know, like add to it, artists, writers, letterers, you know, people who make comics. And so I thought that would be cool, but I was like, the only thing I can really add is just being a writer. And he seemed, you know, we had that conversation, and you were pretty good on that front. So we just said, okay, you know, we'll just, you know, move on from that. It's probably not going to work out.
Yeah, comics are an expensive business, and it's very tough as a writer to be able to do multiple. Like I've seen many people who are very good at doing those many hats. Sadly, though I could on a writing front and even a project manager front, the campaigning and the funding part is the most draining, as I'm sure you very well know. And it's tough. I would love, again, connected with a lot of amazing talents and writers like yourself, and plenty of groundwork, plenty of you know, potential, but it's that same thing. I'm sure this is the problem for 99% of comic creators is the funding. And if you're able to write and draw yourself, then go for it. That's an excellent skill. But that also, then you have to add on top of that, you're doing that many more on the creative hats, which is also very difficult. So
yeah, it's got its strengths and weaknesses.
Yep.
But yeah, so anyway, then I just started thinking like, well, what if I did get to write in the Jack Iron universe? Like, what would that look like? And you know, like, what would my character be if I got just free reign on doing whatever I wanted in there? And I just started piecing it together. Like, okay, I would want kind of like this gunslinger, like vigilante, but like kind of on the intelligent, like, doctor, like maybe like plague doctor looking. And then I decided to make that look a little bit more Western. So instead of like, like the little crow beak or whatever, I went with this skull mask and, what kind of weaponry and, this person was going to be outnumbered. How can I even the odds? That's where I came up with the necrotic bullets and how are they going to haul that around, which is a fun little surprise we're going to reveal later. But yeah, it just kind of hit me like a bolt of lightning. I just started writing, and I came back to, I think it was like maybe a week or two later, and was just like, hey, I have this really kind of out there idea, but instead of just writing the script, what if I came in and wore more than one hat, as you were stating earlier? What if I was to put together the art team, put the page together, run the crowdfunder myself? And we had that whole conversation on what that creator and writer-creator really means, and how much that actually adds to the value of what I could bring to the Ironverse.
Very true. Very true. And the experience, the different, again, it's an awesome opportunity for me as well. And, again, very blessed. Thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. There is so much space within IronVerse Comics, and it's such a very definitive and meaningful message for me that kind of resonates at the core of what, I'm trying to do with the work, but also the many creatives and such that I've been, again, blessed to work with. And so being able to have multiple fronts of that energy being put out is extremely significant for me. It was the original concept was that. I just was very be unkind, ignorant, to be kind, naive about what that actually meant. And over the last half decade in particular, with actually putting feet to the ground and being a part of comics, I've shed some of both the naivety and the ignorance, and not only do I welcome help, but I certainly want to see more and more of these efforts. I want to see it expand. As you said earlier, I can't see why more folks aren't hopping on it. Well, I can see a couple angles of why, but that doesn't mean that the initial what you see there isn't there. It's a very loud industry, and so it can be very tough to stand out without direct personal connections. That's the only way I ended up funding anything was again, Wicked offering physicals, which was not my original plan whatsoever. And the opening the physical market made a huge difference. And then just taking risks and going on, at this point, hundreds and hundreds of hours of live streams, both on this channel, in particular, this channel, it's almost 1,000 hours, but on other wonderful, opportunities and platforms with a wide range of folks. And I think that, again, when I'm able to communicate that direct message that's at the core of why I go through all this effort, people tend to understand, and then they see the quality we're putting out, and that's gotten me and Jack Irons in particular through quite some impossible hurdles. So, I'm hopeful we can get this one through this. It's not an impossible hurdle compared to what Jack's been able to pull off the last couple, but it's tough. We're down on the count, as you can see. It is 7 hours, probably about 6.5 at this point, and again, it's very much.
You and I are in the same mindset. We go down swinging.
Yep, exactly. That's the bit. And the last 2 times too that I've done this, I was like, oh, okay, well, it's done. That's all right. I can take a breather. And then they don't let me breathe. So it is what it is. I'm very glad to, and we're getting it done. We are done with the domestic fulfillment of the Jack Irons books from this campaign issue 4 as of now. So that is about 2/3 of fulfillment completed, which is wonderful. Should be done by the end of this year, as long as work doesn't elude me for much longer. And we'll see how that goes. That was a fun thing too during this campaign. Is the job I was doing, which was already incredibly emotionally and mentally taxing, then disappeared on me very, very quickly and suddenly, and it was. I'm still dealing with that, but it's it's hard, right? Like the only way I know how to do these things is what we're doing right now. It's to connect with a viewership, and usually on a separate platform. My own platforms tend to not attract that many. My Twitter is or X, whatever the heck I'm supposed to call it now, is about the only central location where I've been able to meet other artists and creators, and there's a lot of things working against any creator these days, from the economy to the environment to all these different networking issues, and just the disillusion with comics, and even comic IP is now getting more and more, people are getting more and more disillusioned with. And yet during the pandemic there was more and more crowdfunding efforts and such than I had ever seen up to that point, because people had time on their hands. And so it's a different place than when I was able to kick open a door. And I'm surprised, honestly, that not only has the current efforts not led to as much interaction with the Recluse as I kind of expected. I'm kind of surprised your Wrath audience didn't really connect either as much. And I don't know, again, it's the timing between us. Like, this campaign was pushed back quite a few times because of my own fulfillment things, but also just because of timing. And it's just been one of those things that's been odd with timing.
Yeah, and to go into like the Wrath thing, I think it's just a whole different, animal
Beast.
with
Yeah.
what we're doing here.
Yes.
It's a lot darker.
Yeah.
And then also, like I didn't really seem to get much engagement going on like streams my last campaign, so I didn't push very hard on that this time. So maybe we'll change that back to heavy streaming in the future.
And again, I don't even know what that environment's like at this point. The last time I was doing that was last year, right, during this. And so and even then, like, some pulling some teeth, both on me, but also just to get things done, and to get on to things and organize time. But I'm refocusing on that actually rather significantly. Starting the Creator Roundtable is what I'm calling it so far. Probably have a change of names. Hopefully that will be the first kind of thing next week. That got a huge amount of engagement and interest, so I'm hoping to be able to follow up on that. See how it goes. It wasn't as much, the test group chat wasn't as much of a trade wreck as I expected, which was good. There are some individuals who very much would not like each other in there. So I was expecting that to go very, very wrong very quickly, but it didn't, which is another good sign. And so I'm trying to...
Yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some close, but we'll see. The point of it, though, is to bring those different kind of concepts together under a neutral ground where hopefully multiple positions can be discussed and looked at from a more objective angle than the constant, very, very biased whatever they're talking about with comics. If you're looking at whatever, it doesn't matter what, if it's comic reviews or if it's particularly if it's pop culture engagement around comics, it's always super biased one way or another, and so it's very ego padding, and it's at best half truths, and that's always bothered the hell out of me. So I've had this idea kicking in the back of my head basically since I've been in any kind of comic network. And so it'll be nice to see how that goes, and hopefully it does bridge and allow more interest. Again, I was very surprised by the amount of engagement that the concept got. Else I probably wouldn't have followed through with it. In fact, the first time I did it, I got a decent amount of engagement. I didn't follow through with it. Getting out of this job is a huge mental, like, weight off of me. So that's one thing I am like very happy about. At the same time, that's the environment around it wasn't great, and so I'm still dealing with the quote unquote grief with that. It's not going well. I'm volunteering there now, and so I'm still seeing it. It's rough, but nonetheless, I'm hoping I have more energy put into that, because I think it could be a good alternative to a lot of the less more hostile environments, even though they can be fun for folks. Some folks get. I'm not somebody who resonates with that, but some people really, really do. And good on them, I guess. But yeah, it's not my thing, and I'd like to have something that's not that. But yeah, live streaming has been the key. But like again, the last two campaigns, even with all of that, with how hard I've pushed on that, it still took last day massive engagement to get Jack pushed over those hills. And
Yeah, we actually had like quite a bit more engagement the last couple days, which
yeah,
I really appreciated all of that. So, just, shout out to everyone that's been, liking, retweeting, quote tweeting, all of that, it's appreciated.
it does. It's very hard to get it's very hard to get the word out. Like every day I come on and there are thousands and thousands of comic creators on these hustles. Some are Kickstarters, some aren't. But it's very easy to get lost in that noise. And so to actually get that engagement, it makes a massive difference. And in fact, you jumped pretty good yesterday. We were at like 30-40% or something yesterday. It was a good jump.
I can't remember what day it was. We were at 43 and we jumped up to 50.
Yeah, there was a good.
So we've had some very generous backers boosting us along. What we really need though is just those random first time, this looks cool, I want to check it out backers, and we just seem to not be clicking with them for some reason.
Yeah, the passive engagement has not been great, but again, I don't know if it's Indiegogo. Would this book have done better on Kickstarter? I don't know. I don't like. There's all these little factors in this when you jump into this that you can't quite ever honestly judge, right? Like, again, the Jack Irons audience was and has been, at least the ones that back primarily on Indiegogo, but Indiegogo's lost some credit even since last year with some of their policy changes. So it's a
constantly shifting and changing landscape.
Yep, and so you just got to hope that somewhere you'll hit the target, right? Free reads, we're almost up to 1,000 reads on the preview, which is quite a few. That's about 200 viewers or readers on average if they finish the preview. About a little over 100 because it's like 7 pages. It counts the cover, but that's still pretty good for a preview. And yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit too is I've had, and part of it has been like where I've been mentally for like the last year. But I've had a hard time figuring out how to honestly sell this to the amount of passion I'm able to sell Jack, right? And of course it makes sense that I don't connect with it on the same level. It's just how it's going to be, right? But at the same time, I don't know how I sold Jack otherwise. So it's tough. And so I've tried. Some of it is, of course, like, how you phrase stuff. You would think some of the wicked cool imagery that this book has would resonate as well. But yeah, it's I've never really had to. The last time I had to try and sell somebody else's book was Dollar Coins and the original Cactus Coyote run, which is funny. This is about $21 less than what that finished at right now. We're still at the $700. It's interesting. So we ran the Kickstarter for Cactus Coyote. Gosh, or was it a go-go? See, I don't even remember. I think it was a go-go. 2019.
I remember
something
backing
like that.
it, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, and I don't remember on each either. And so that one again didn't have. It's easy to market something that's coming off as fun or humorous. Serious and grit for me. How I ended up marking that with Jack is it helps reinforce the core messages. The closest I get with Recluse is it's a thing of rebellion. It's another form of anti-authority, which is very core at IronVerse. Just between all the titles, Cactus Coyote's the same, and this a downtrodden mass, you know, the George Orwell, a boot stepping on a face forever, somebody grabbing that boot and trying to push it up and off, right? And so I've done as much of that as I could. It is, again, the closest allegory that people could resonate with is a Robin Hood tale, because it sort of is. It's stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, and, you know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it is like a Robin Hood tale, but like the stakes are higher, so there's a lot more, you know, almost survival, you know, of the fittest brutality to it.
Yeah.
You know, which is a little bit more in my wheelhouse. Like I love the Robin Hood tale growing up. So that kind of bled through, I think, in the whole creative process. But it was definitely something that, you know, I really wanted to lean into that post-apocalyptic, you can't hold anything back, because as soon as you do, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you know, there are the cases where the character still shows some morality and some honor. Like if you have checked out the first couple of pages, you kind of see them just ruthlessly taking some people out, but as it goes through, you know, like they do have a sense of you know, morality, and like I can't shoot someone that's not a threat.
The other thing that's really interesting is this is the first like regular human to star in an IronVerse title. So like death is very much a possibility for them, and it's not some wacky, again, like Cactus Coyote, who has a range of alien abilities. No, this is just a person with some proprietary technology.
Yeah, it's a little bit of.
So the stakes are a lot higher for them as well.
Yeah, and you said Punisher, so it's a little mix between Batman and Punisher. But yeah, it's you know, like, you know, we want to show that Jack Iron's heart in there. I think we do that in this first issue. But yeah, I really want to get this one done, because I really want to get to issue 2.
Yeah, right. I know. That's the other bit with the campaign, right? It drags on and it takes time, and if it doesn't move forward, hopefully you gained you know, some traction with it. I don't think there's ever a failure in that level, but it's you know, it's not fun. It's not fun to learn that. But you know, you keep swinging. Again, Cactus Coyote, it took a while. We did that first one, it didn't work out. He did his 40-page manga, and he's like, you know, I could keep doing this, but I don't really like what I'm doing. And I don't think it'll resonate with the readership that you've got, or, you know, talking to me, as much as something slightly more Western. So he went and he found his artist, and over time he put together the 15-page, you know, preview that's now also on that page, and folks can get a hold of also by backing this. You get the whole IronVerse in one backing for what, $18, something like that. Digital copy. Let's see. Boom.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. And
$3 digital.
You know, I've been watching Cactus Coyote from the beginning, so I think where he's at now is where he needs to be with it. Like, I've enjoyed it the whole time, but like, this one's definitely resonating with people the way I think that he wants it to.
That's the bit, and like, it always, the core of what he was trying to do, it's very creative, and he's very dedicated to how he does things, and the amount of writing he's shown me, all these different things, really like super passionate about this. He's a writer's writer. He just likes to write. Like, I complete opposite than me. I like to write when I know what the goal is. He likes to write because he likes to write. But with it, the original manga, I think, was a lot. I like his art for how he pulls off his comedy. But Boscolo does it very well as well. He's known as a Looney Tunes fan artist, so it was kind of the perfect crossover for what Dollar Coins was trying to do. But that, that is 4 years in the making at this point. It took some time to get that out. And we'll see what that, we'll see what moves forward with that. But there will come, we will figure out what the Recluse's bit is. I mean, there's so many ways to present this, and I did send out another email today talking about the domestic shipments being finished, but also pitching the Recluse, and the I don't know. The core of it is maybe we haven't found the heart and core of the title to sell to folks, and how to sell it. I mean, the tagline obviously is very direct. Again, it's talking about single scientists reclaiming unlimited food from corporate greed incarnate. That's very true. It's got some fancy words. It sounds nice. But, Hey. Oh, that's working. Yo, welcome to Troy's World. Welcome. I don't know if I've seen you in these parts, but thank you so much for joining us. I need to switch this to headphones, but Robo Lady should have worked, so that's good. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We actually got a couple folks in chat at the moment. Great. Yeah, we're doing the campaign closeout for the Recluse. We're damn close, and honestly, relative to a lot, we're not that far. So I will be throwing the link in chat if folks want to check out the page yourself, see if it's something you want to check out, as well as I will put the free preview read if you're not sold on the campaign page. $3 gets you the digital. $12 gets you the digital alongside 4 issues of Jack Irons Steel Cowboy and the 15-page preview of Cactus Coyote, as well as if you want to add more, you can also get Wrath from Scott as well. I think it was it 6 for Wrath as well? Let me check.
I think so. 'Cause you had 4 for Jack Irons plus the Cactus Coyote, and then I had 3 for Wrath plus the Recluse. So
There you go.
Yeah, that's quite the bundle of
It's a heck of a
digital comics there.
Yes, and Comics Omen also offered their digital bundle on top of that, folks. So you can get a ton of digital comics for very, very, very cheap. So check that out if you're a digital comics backer. If not, a very cheap standard copy, $8 plus how much shipping? Is it 5?
Yeah, I think it's 5. But we've got some extra goodies we're throwing in there too for the first 50 backers. We have the Chibi Recluse sticker and pen that we're throwing in there just as a thank you for being one of the early backers for the project.
Yes, indeed. They're adorable. Looking at them right now. And yeah, 2 different awesome covers. We've got the standard cover with the coffin, the gorgeous lighting, and we've got an almost Mike Mignola looking variant cover. That's what I liked about that one quite a bit. It's really heavy on the Mignola vibes, which is very neat. I love the cover choices for what you folks created. Honestly, the art for the Recluse is stellar. I can't talk enough about how unique and interesting the creative combination is.
Just got
Roslyn, she's been around for a while. I caught her work on, I forget what the name of the project was, but it was this family in eastern Kentucky, and she had these great monsters that she was drawing for it, and so I kind of kept tabs on her. When I was looking for a new artist for Wrath, after that first failed Kickstarter, she tried out for it and it just didn't quite click, but I still wanted to work with her, and apparently she still wanted to work with me. So when this opportunity came along, I said, hey, what are you doing? Do you still want to collaborate on something? And started giving her the script for the Recluse, and she's just done a phenomenal job just with everything I've thrown at her. She's also a gun enthusiast, so I don't have to explain anything to her about the gun. She explains it to me.
That's always helpful. I love that the
Yeah.
Recluse actually does use trigger discipline. That I didn't used to bug me, but then Rag Zombie was very Rags was
Very
very
adamant.
about it, and now I can't not notice it. And I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, you know what? I think that's smart. Now in my own books, Jack has no trigger discipline. I don't bug Maxie. Maxie is not a gun person, and you can kind of see that throughout his work. But his cartoony, exaggerated proportions and style, it doesn't hurt so much. But I love that addition because it shows, you know, the person's tactical. It has that extra layer of not only intelligence but respect for the weapon, which is I love that vibe. I definitely love that vibe. But yes,
Yeah, I was
Brett.
very specific in which firearms the Recluse uses. So we kind of talked about this at another stream. Like Jack
Brett
uses
McGowan
the biggest hand cannon he can
said,
find,
think Roslyn S. gun
because the
detail
caliber
comes
of the
from her
bullets is
husband
where
being
he's
in.
packing his punch. But with the Recluse, theirs is the bullet itself. What it's made of is what's doing the heavy lifting. So they looked for something that's more accuracy and reliability than just pure size and power.
Bingo. Welcome, Brett, by the way. I'm not ignoring your messages. I think I'm going to turn off Robo Lady just because Scott can't hear it. But Brett just got home. How we're looking? We're 50%. I'll refresh it for the hell of it. But we're over 50 to be fair. Not quite 51, but we are over. It's like 50.6 according to Kick Tracker or Backer Tracker.
Actually, Brett, she actually has been shooting most of her life and has her own handgun with custom grips. If you ever want to see that, she probably has a picture kicking around.
Oh, there you go. Yep, as Brett said, he thinks her gun detail comes from her husband being in the army. Well, that certainly has helped, but I would not be surprised.
Yes.
I would not be surprised. So we did go up to 30 backers, yet the total hasn't changed. So I don't know what that means. Because it was at 29, but now, yeah, I don't know what that means.
Sometimes there's like a little delay there, so
Probably payment
thank you,
processor.
whoever may
Yes,
have
thank
just
you.
backed.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's likely the payment processor. But yeah, so we're going. Oh, there
Yeah,
we go.
there we go. We just jumped up to 790. Thank you.
Oh, shit. Oh, thank you so much, Troy. Thank you. So that was Troy's World. He went ahead and got the digitals. Thank you.
Oh,
I hope
awesome,
you
Troy.
enjoy it. You're getting a lot of value. Thank you again. We work very hard. Our work is meaningful. We do create for fun, but I also think because we have something to say, particularly if you're checking out Wrath, you'll see a wonderful, emotionally heartfelt story. Check out Jack. It's a little bit more, I wouldn't say political because it's very anti-authoritarian, but it's also a deep dive into a psyche. It's just from a very different perspective. And so I hope you enjoy both. Again, thank you, and thank you. But yeah, killer. Let me see if that went on through there. Yes, it did. All right, 52%. We have crossed the 50%. Now we own the company. That's great.
We're the majority stockholder.
Yes, it's majority of the way there. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna go back up here real quick and do a little bit of promo here, both on the stream and just of the project itself. See if I can kick some more folks in here. Does anybody have any questions for Scott? It looks like you can see the chat, so that would be great if you have any questions.
Brett McGowan said, plug this in the Mythoverse server.
Thank you, Brett. Much appreciated. Okay, let me see. Go ahead and do a quote
Yeah,
here.
thanks, Brett.
Let's go. Ba-ba-ba-ba. 52%. There we go. Awesome. Getting there.
Brett McGowan said, need to know the origin to Recluse.
There you go.
So origin of how Cody and I started working together, or origin of the character?
Oh, we'll see. Both, either would be my guess, but I'm guessing the origin of the character. If I had to guess.
Ooh, that's a good one. How can I do that without spoiling too much?
It's tough.
That's
It's
the
tough.
trick. Yeah.
Said.
So
Vote
it's
is fine.
I'll just try and throw it out in just basic ideas. Scientist, misguided, naive, thought they were helping the world. Turns out they were being exploited. Accident in the lab. Basically leaves them for dead, tossed out like garbage. Miraculously survive, see the truth of what's really been going on. Not sure how much time they have left, and so decides to just throw, everything into it and try and change the horrible situation that they have found the world is in.
All right. So somebody's wanting me to say happy birthday. So happy birthday, Nick Gurr. I don't know who that is, but welcome and happy birthday. Also, from that perspective as well, folks who, let me see, I'll pull up issue number 2 of Jack real quick. So, folks unfamiliar, why is that asking me to leave? That's fine. With our work, Jack Iron Steel Cowboy, the IronVerse Comics, the 4 pillars of IronVerse Comics, basically the 4 main gears as well as antagonists and very much villains of IronVerse Comics are the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, our interpretation of them. Let me get to that double page spread. And from that, each of those characters, basically, and there's a good shot of them, but there is a better one. There you go. Each of those characters basically have carved out their own bit of very welcome, Ruben. Have carved out their own sections on Earth. They're conquering Earth. Their goal is to conquer the galaxy and make the universe, honestly, not just the galaxy, make the entire universe them. It's the ultimate ego trip. They are the best of creation. They should be creation. And so the Recluse deals with a time period in IronVerse Comics where Earth is basically completely conquered by Famine Inc. The manifestation of greed, of overconsumption, of suffering and pain for its own sake, and the Recluse, from what was just said on the origin, obviously got entangled with that. However, within IronVerse Comics, there's also a pivotal moment where humanity basically finds a MacGuffin to rise out of that. We call it Prot. It can be called Proto. It can be called Protein Z. It's got a lot of different names, but it's a process in which any organic matter can be turned into edible matter, can be turned into nutrition. It's one step shy of a replicator from Star Trek. It is one step shy. It can only deal with food. You're crazy,
Thank you,
Troy. You're crazy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You're crazy. We appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
It's coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, much appreciated, brother. But so within that, the Recluse is a time period where the other 3 horsemen, they exist in their own forms. Death is always there. Death is the oldest. War's there, but not so much, because in this time period, the world's very much controlled. So there's less like organized warfare and more of small skirmishes and gangs, things like that. And at this point, Plague doesn't really care too much.
Said. Eyes Pestilence.
Eyes Pestilence, indeed. Yes, a very interesting character. The cosmic pestilence. So you have the manifestations on planets that humanity, in this case, humanity manifests, but the galaxy does. You find that out in IronVerse Comics, is that the seeds of these, you can call them sins, manifested on any planet.
One shudders to imagine what inhuman thoughts lie behind that mask what chronic dreams of cruelty.
Very true. And so our series Cactus Coyote deals more with Plague's machinations, what he wants to do with the universe. And man, Dollar Coins has a wonderful story off of that.
Said. I can see how passionate you guys are. I wish you guys all the best and God bless. Smiling face with open mouth, person
Troy.
raising both hands in celebration.
Bless you, brother. Thank you so much for supporting our work. If this doesn't go through, don't worry. Your money will be refunded very quickly through Indiegogo. But you've made a massive difference for this. Thank you.
Yes, you have. we appreciate you just randomly stumbling in here, checking us out, listening to us ramble about our passion projects. Like, yeah, people like you make the struggle worth it.
Yeah, art's a pain in the ass, but if we can get our messages and our work to people who will enjoy it, it really makes a massive difference. And so anyway, if you want to give a middle finger to Famine, the Recluse is your #1 chance to do that. We've done it a little bit in Jack Irons issue 4. You do it a little bit in issue 1 when he kills the robot. But the Recluse is taking that system head on when it almost had taken over the planet at its strongest. Whereas Jack, when you see him in issue 4 and issue 1, Famine has his own little section carved out, but his brothers have now been swinging for long enough that he's no longer the same threat that the Recluse faced. Not even close. And so if you want to see this corporate guy get a little less smug, this manifestation of greed, consumption, control, and suffering, get a little bit of comeuppance, the Recluse is the best place to find that. So again, thank you so much for checking it out. And yeah, the IronVerse and IronVerse Comics, and I'm going to use that as the sigil, as the symbol for what it really is. It's a very personal exploration of these very heavy concepts of being a person, right? Like those 4 horsemen are symbolic of our own struggles, blah, blah, blah. It's very like blatant analogs and metaphors, but I don't care. That's what makes them fun to me, this cartoony directness. That's what I enjoy about it. These are massive concepts, things that are cartoony, that are caricatures, that are these big things in the back of our mind that we can't ever truly grasp. So we explore them, both positively and negatively. And for me, and I think for Scott as well, particularly through Wrath, through art. And I think that's the safest and most enjoyable way to explore a lot of these harder things, and to let people know you're not alone in seeing these things and seeing that they can be really big, but they can also be explored, understood, and moved past, and at the end of the day accepted for what they really are, which is something usually grander than us. Again, this work means so very much to me. It came up out of a time that was very hard for me, and it supported me through what's been quite a few hard times. And the Recluse is a wonderful extension of that, and I really, really want to see more and more successes for it, because I believe that what we have to offer to this is comes off almost arrogant and grandiose, but what we have to offer the world is important, and it's something that should be shared. So I thank anybody who's stopped in and has engaged with our work over the years and wants to support this particular expression, but also all the others that we've been able to somehow squirrel our way into existence. Thank you. Again, it can't be done without your support. It's definitely passion projects. None of us have a bunch of loose change to chuck at this. But crazy, 850.
Yeah, we jumped up a bit thanks to Troy there.
Yes.
Again, thank you so much, Troy. But yeah, we can. Still got 7 hours left.
Yes, I still think it's doable. I do. Believe it or not, I do. So let me see if I can now. So the thing is, though, it's going to take constant interaction. So I'm going to have to keep stopping.
74 now.
Because that happened. Okay. You fuckers don't. Well, at least it's not me who's going to have to make the thing this time. So let me see. Let me do some more of this. So I have to keep wrangling people into here for this to work. So if you have questions for Scott to answer, go for it. Otherwise, Scott, if there's anything else you want to talk about, just like comics creation or working with an artist, or any of these very unique experiences within comics, please do while I type.
Well, we can, because I think Brett wanted the origin of the Recluse.
Yes.
And then he also wanted how we got. Well, we'll go over it again. Just the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah.
But Cody basically put out for different writers and creators, writers, artists, letterers, to help them expand on the IronVerse. And I put in as a writer, but it was kind of full at that point. So we just kind of parted ways on the collaboration at that point, and then my inner muse kind of got clicking, like, it would have been really cool, like what would this character look like if I made one for just the IronVerse, and all these pieces started clicking and forming together on what I wanted to do, what I wanted it to look like. And I kind of came back to Cody and said, instead of just writing this, what if I just brought in my own story, and then my own creator expertise into this? So, I'm going to write the script, I'm going to put together the art team, I'm going to raise the funding, promote it, and all you need to do is just support and give me feedback on the script. And we had this really cool conversation about what that creator and writer/creator means, and he was excited about what I was bringing in and how it was going to fit and help the IronVerse grow, and so here we are.
Yes, indeed. I'm very, very excited. Honestly, being able to fill out this very niche time period in IronVerse Comics, where it's kind of important. It bridges a gap in between kind of the where we see a lot of Jack beforehand, where he's figuring himself out. He meets Tracker, another immortal. It's kind of filling out some of this bit. But then there's this period of time where neither Jack or any of these other semi-immortal characters, when they kind of step back and see what humanity is going to do for themselves, and what they do is they sign a Faustian bargain with the devil, and it doesn't end well. During that time, not everybody signed off, and the Recluse allows that time period to be explored, and it's right before first contact as well with the Anu Confederation. Basically, if there is a fifth pillar in IronVerse Comics that's not our heroes, it is the Anu Confederation. It's the organized galactic resistance to the Four Horsemen, because again, this isn't just a Earth problem. Earth has a very unique manifestation of it, but it's not just an Earth, it is a galactic problem. Again, these beings, these existences, these Lovecraftian manifestations of darkness want to make reality that manifestation and only that manifestation. So they fight each other, which helps, but at some point during this period, some very powerful and kind soul united a bunch of alien races to overthrow the Horsemen on a planet and actually get some footing and carve out an existence that was closer to what was before these beings started manifesting. And within that, eventually, Proto is the key to why they don't just nuke Earth from orbit when they find out Horsemen are on it. So the Recluse, that whole line is super important to how things work. They should give you Chaos God vibes. They are very much inspired by that, and the by 40K in particular. When I found 40K as a teenager, and it's still my favorite, besides the IronVerse, of course, still my favorite fictional universe. It was so deep, and there's so many angles, and the amount of heroes and villains, and how deep those characters were, and how epic everything felt to scale. While they went fantasy science fiction, I wanted to go Western science fiction, and so I think we found a good middle ground with there, and I do very much aspire to the same levels of epic and of scale that 40K does, without doing the millions and millions of humans dying on a planet for something. It wouldn't be millions and millions of aliens. The populations are much smaller in our galaxy, but the villains are nonetheless difficult, and again, more caricatures, more cartoony than what 40K aspires to be. 40K very wants to be grimdark, grounded. I definitely want us to have more space for heart and for uplift in this darkness than 40K tends to go for. 40K likes to sell everything as shit, but here's some cool shit. I want to sell us everything's to shit, but we can rise above it. It's a little bit different. But yeah, they very much were inspired off the Chaos Gods. I just wanted them to be more directly involved and more I don't know. Again, more caricatures, more vibrant in that aspect instead of four very loose demons that are kind of in existence, but they're everywhere, but they're nowhere. But there's a lot of those vibes. The manifestation bits is almost like the warp tearing open, but we don't have a warp. Reality either exists or it doesn't. Yeah. Chaos Gods is very, very truthful. It should, because that is like the pinnacle of where I want to reach towards.
Said, I have to head out, but I'm going to check out
Yeah,
your guys' work.
that's
Also,
kind of
hopefully you
what
guys reach the goal.
I'm
Smile and
excited
face
to
with open
do
mouth.
with this series. Is you've laid out some dots, and I get to connect those dots in fun and interesting ways, and kind of flesh out why they're important and how they just lay the tracks for what's happening with Jack Irons now.
Yes, because Jack Irons, if you dive into it, it's gonna and for purpose, it feels very fantastical. It's very dreamlike, I would say, from the time periods that are explored. Oh, by the way, thank you, Troy. You're headed out. Thank you so much. You made a massive difference. And again, either way, please check out our work as you go. Links to Wrath and to the Recluse preview, as well as the first 3 Jack Irons issues, are all up on Global Comics. If you just want to check them out, if this doesn't fun, but if it does, we'll get it to them.
Like a cross between the Undertaker and Wolfwood from Trigon.
Yeah, thank you, Troy. Have a good night. Appreciate you stopping in and hanging out with us.
In fact, I know for a fact that Wolfwood from Trigon was an inspiration for at least one of the covers.
Yeah, the variant cover that Drew drew.
True.
I kind of wanted to do some more homage covers on the variants for Recluse. And Wolfwood is my favorite character from Trigon, and I took a little inspiration for the Recluse character design from him. So it just made sense to do a tribute cover. So when I was showing Drew a couple of images that I was thinking of using for the inspiration for the variant, showed her this one in particular where Wolfwood is holding, his cross, wrapped in chains, and she was like, I want to do that one. So
Let me mute it. I'm gonna play the Mrs. H animation for that. I might have blasted you with that as well, because I forgot it has audio, very loud audio. But yes,
how do we get your attention?
it's true. It's very in your face. Can I just like loop? There's gotta be a way to just loop. Oh, come on. Because I couldn't find just the frozen image. I was like, but I know I have the animation. Doesn't want to loop. You can see that, and it's cool because I haven't been able to work in any like Trigon inspiration. The thing with Trigon, and I've said it many times, is the manga is very difficult to read. It's not a very clear manga. His storytelling is not very clear. It looks great. It's got a ton of personality. The strength of it is its characterizations. To me, like Vash is such a very strong and resonant character that it makes it easy to overlook the storytelling in some cases, and basically all of them because Vash is so good. But for me, like working in, there's some very awesome visuals in Trigon that I can remember. The giant light bulb, like there's some really cool. It's like that means that like the city's being powered, if I remember right. It's some neat stuff. I try to work in homages into every issue of Jack. The big one in issue 4 was Army of Darkness, which was fun. I try to pull from westerns and from science fiction and stuff, and so it's really neat to have some Trigon inspiration represented in IronVerse, I guess is what I'm rambling about. And again, I love this. Again, it feels like Mike Mignola.
Said,
I'm a big fan of that.
the villains in Trigon are top shelf too.
That's true. The villains are very top shelf. That is very true. But yeah, I love this. I think that it's because of the inking that it feels kind of Mignola-y. Also the color choices. Yeah, it's a very cool cover.
Yeah, there's some fun villains in Trigon. I mean, from the get-go, wasn't the first guy like just a big, huge guy that threw a boomerang?
Yeah, his arm just like chucks it as a weapon. Yeah, I remember that. Totally. Yeah, no, the character designs are also really good. That's again, like as an artist, his design's really good. I think when he did layouts, he wanted the page to look good more than to flow good, and they always look good. No question. I love Nito's art style. I adore it. Okay, let's see here. What can I do to? There's that. Let's see here. Do this one more time for the hell of it. Okay.
Fred McGowan said, Legato is one of the few times I've seen a nihilist villain done right.
Is Legato
We're
the saxophone one? Is that him?
We're almost up to 60% now.
Yeah, it's killer. Definitely made a massive difference. I'm trying to see what else I could do on that front. I did do a boost post, but I put links in there. Again, too, I don't know how to use Twitter. I've never learned how to use Twitter properly. I just brute force it when things work. And usually brute force means, like, I just don't shut up. So I guess what I better do now.
Legato is the guy who forced Vash to kill him.
I'm gonna be honest. I've only gotten through Trigun once, and it took me a span of like a year to get through it again because of the storytelling. So I don't remember very well. I don't think so. I remember the saxophone guy who could control like people with it, if I remember correctly, with his music, and that's like towards the end because he's part of the main villain's gang. I forgot the name of the main villain, who is like Vash's. It's not a twin, but they're both like they were both superhumans, like made for like from a colony ship. Like it's super conceptual as well. Like his storytelling is super like high concept. Yeah, it's been a long time, and I haven't watched the anime for even longer than since I've read it. I need to do that. I need to get in on that. What I'm looking for. I'm looking for something so I can. Okay.
Fred McGowan said, Millions Knives is the main villain you're thinking of.
Thank you, Knives. Yes, that is the main villain.
Yeah, I was watching Trigun, back in the dark ages of anime where you buy the VHS tapes, or maybe what your friends did.
What it was called, Japanimation? I remember those times. I remember the Japanimation times.
The Japan, there's this. We should call it the Suncoast times, because that was like basically the only place
Yeah.
selling it.
Yeah, the before times.
Before Toonami.
Yes. So I definitely got most introduced to anime besides the 4Kids anime, which was Pokemon or anything super kiddie. That was probably my first anime, but that was before I knew the difference between a cartoon and anime. But when I knew the difference, it was Toonami with Dragon Ball Z, Inuyasha, Cowboy Bebop, later Fooly Cooly. God, there's so many good ones. But that was like when I got into it, and I was like, oh, this is very, very different compared to like the Looney Tunes and shit I was watching as a kid, and all the stuff that came out of the West, which was basically, well, we can't sell them toys to the same level as we used to, so let's put a little bit of a plot on it now.
NGL, I kinda giggled when Trigun Stampede, the new anime, had a character named after Robert De Niro.
Oh, see, I didn't watch the new one. The character design did not resonate with me like whatsoever. I did not like to change the Vash. I thought he had such a cool and iconic character design, and they're like, let's twinkify him. And I was like, I get who you're going for. It's not going to work for me, but I get who you're going for. I've heard good things, and then I didn't hear anything else about it, so I don't know how good it was. Was it any good? Was Trigun Stampede any good? I have no idea.
I watched the first episode, and I want to go back and watch more.
Well, there you go. Okay.
But yeah, it was just a whole different kind of start-off point than the original. Because I think he meets the girl. Like, the girls took a little while to find him.
Okay.
if I remember.
Oh, how are the girls too in that? They're some of my favorite characters. Like I really enjoy, what is it, Millie and I forgot her other name. That dynamic's so fun throughout the whole series. The giant
Yeah,
minigun she pulls out of her suit too. That's so good. So
well,
good.
it's this giant stun gun. It just
That's
got
it.
these giant like almost like barricades that would just knock.
Oh yeah, it's
people
like
out.
giant crosses, right? Or giant plus signs or whatever. Whack! Yeah. It's super fun. Again, the character designs and just the concepts are so fun to try.
And that was kind of what I worried is some of that might have been lost, but I really need to give the series more time to see how that all develops
Brett
and
McGowan
if they
said,
still able to hit that same point.
Stampede was good, more anime, but kept faithful
Or
to
points.
Vash's character. Thankfully, and Johnny Youngbosch came back to voice Vash.
Oh, okay. So it's the same voice. I liked him as Vash's voice actor. Okay, that's cool.
Said,
They brought him back.
Stampede just has Meryl Millie was completely absent.
Stampede
Okay,
is
there
just
was
Meryl.
something that I felt was missing there, but yeah, it's been a while since I checked it out.
Oh, okay, so it's just Meryl, no Millie. Well, that's disappointing because that dynamic's super fun. But I like
Yeah.
Millie better than Meryl. I get Meryl's characters that she's supposed to be the that Vash again kind of character, and Millie was just like going along for the ride and super chill, but like the thug. I loved it. It's so fun. But okay, that's a little disappointing. Millie was a wonderful character. Right in her. So it is a reboot
Yeah,
too.
sure.
It's not even a continuation. It's a reboot. Okay.
Yep. It's
Well, that's true.
whole
Trigun
different-
does finish very definitively. Though I did start Maximum after I read Trigun and then I started Maximum and like again I started it and this was years ago so I didn't get far. Usually a manga I can tear through. I sit down with it in an omnibus and I tear through it. So again it's probably the same Nito. Like it's kind of hard to read. But okay. I'm glad that they're reprinting Maximum because getting the second omnibus for Trigun Maximum was like $400. It was solo print. So that never happened. Like, I was not going to do that. There's no fucking way. But Dark Horse is leaning into their manga since it is like 97% of their revenue. And it's mainly Berserk. But it's basically just Berserk that's keeping Dark Horse alive. And that's reprints. It's insane. But they also got a hold of Innocent, which is my favorite piece of sequential art ever. And they're bringing it into English, which was like... If Dark Horse does nothing else good for the remainder of their publishing, the fact that they're publishing Innocent is like, it's a service to mankind, in my opinion. Same with Berserk, but Berserk they've been doing for a while. The fact that they actually went and picked up this very niche, but masterful piece of work and are going to be putting it out. I'm so excited for it. November can't come close enough. Reading fan translations is fine, but I want to read it in paper. I'm a paper reader. The fact that it got me to read for like 17 hours straight. I fucking love Innocent and Innocent Rouge. It's so good. But yeah, Dark Horse. That's what they're doing. I'm glad that they're reprinting Trigun Maximum and Trigun. Actually seeing Nito's work on a larger page like Miura's work is probably worth it as well. His line art's very, very Quest. I don't know who this is, but sure. Let defend human right, but they spelt right wrong. I'm pretty sure this isn't a bot. I think it's just somebody who English isn't their first language, but let's see if it acts like a bot. It was in response to one of the campaign links I put out. So I'm going to put sure with a question mark. Because I'm not sure what you are, person. Cool. There's that. Let's see. Can I kick up any more? What else can I do?
Brett McGowan
I just gotta be a little relentless and loud.
said, did you look at Naito's other work, Gungrave?
I've played Gungrave on the channel. I had a lot of fun. So I didn't read it or watch it.
on all the DVDs.
How is it the anime? I've just played the game, and the game's a lot of fun. It's a lot of style over substance.
It takes a little while to get started. It's almost like half crime, family, like monster show, and then like other half is over the top like sci-fi gunslinger anime. Would probably be the best way to describe it. But it does a really good job of establishing the character he was before, Brandon Heat. It's a good series. And Eventually, when we get to other variant covers, you will see some Gungrave tributes as well. So.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. No, I liked. Kindly follow me back and let us discuss some DM. It's not a bot. It's so that's the other thing I've noticed has shot up. I mean, bots in general have shot up crazy since the pandemic. Since AI, honestly, is what's doing it. But for email, for whatever, bots, it's become insanity. But on Twitter as well, it's become really annoying. Like anytime you post a campaign, you'll get somebody, oh, I can manage that for you, and it's a fucking robot. And so that's what that guy was. Yeah, I'm not following that. Gungrave compared to Once Upon a Time in America. I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in America.
Yeah, neither have I.
Let's look that up. Once Upon... I've heard of it. I think it's a mafia tale. Which makes sense, because Gungrave had some underworld crime feeling in the video game. French...
well, that's because he was...
Yeah.
in the mob.
Yeah, exactly. Right, yeah. It's from Sergio Leone, which that's funny. I can see that. Okay. It's from the Godfather spaghetti westerns. Okay. Final film before he died. Okay. And it's part of his Once Upon a Time trilogy, so it's a trilogy of movies. Very much like the Fistful trilogy, the Dollars trilogy. Yo, is that it?
Didn't Robert Rodriguez tap into both of those with his whole Desperado series? Because I know the last one is Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
I could see that. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh man, I can't recommend it to any creative. But oh god, what is it called? It's his book. Will do. We'll check that out now. Let me actually switch so you guys can watch because I'm not doing anything else. I wanted his book. Forgot what it's called. It's like, Rebel Without a Camera. I think, or Rebel with a Camera, something like that. Rebel Without a Crew. Rebel Without a Crew. It's basically his notes on making El Mariachi. And you want to see a kid who's just really passionate about making movies and has like no inroads in Hollywood, has no financial backing, has everything stacked against him, but he loves making films. You want to see that journey from him doing that to actually being Robert Rodriguez. Rebel Without a Crew is super inspirational. It's no bullshit. It shows how a man can do the work his way and not have to compromise all the way until, of course, he's had to compromise. I think Spy Kids was like, oh, now I can make a lot of money. And so, I mean, Desperado made a lot of money too, but El Mariachi itself is just an incredible underdog tale, and I can't recommend that book enough. If like you're down on your creator level, like that's what did it to me. It's like, oh well, no, I can keep going. It's a wonderful book about that. Super cheap. I gave it to my friend, the copy. Dog Coins got it for me. I read it. And then I gave that same copy to my buddy who makes music, Laguna Munta. It's such an inspirational book. And it's no bullshit. It's fun to read. Definitely recommend it. Rebel Without a Crew. That's what it's called. And it's just one man's passion for filmmaking and somehow surviving Hollywood. It's crazy that he did it. Look at the cast, he says. Cast, starring De Niro, James Woods, McGovern, Joe Pesci. Okay, so yeah, it's a mobster movie. Same musician as the Dollar Trilogy as well, Morricone. I've got to watch those then, because I've seen the Dollar Trilogy a ton of times. So Once Upon a Time in the West was 68. Duck-You-Sucker in 71. And then Once Upon a Time in America is 84. Oh wow, it took a long time to get to Once Upon a Time in America. It took about 13 years.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, I didn't know that he did a mobster trilogy, which is my bad. I'm not much of a film buff. I've watched a lot of movies, but I don't find it. There's a couple directors and it's only recently that I found. I'm like, yeah, I want to see what else they did. But they have to have a really unique style, and freaking Leone certainly does. Okay, let's see here. Here. Yeah, so it's Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I'm not surprised that it's a long film. Okay, let me see. Can I get... What else can I do here?
Like over 3 hours, so have an afternoon set aside to watch it.
Yeah, What I can do, and what I've done before, is I'll take a day and I'll watch a massive trilogy. Usually the one that I'll do is the Lord of the Rings extended, which is like 13 hours to finish all of them. I'll just take like a day, and that's my day, and I'll have them on in the background while I'm watching, doing things around the house when I have a day off. So I'll probably do the same thing. Um, Chronicles the lives of best friends Noodles, Max, as they lead a group of Jewish ghetto youths who rise to prominence as the Jewish gangsters in New York.
Brett McGowan
Interesting.
said,
Okay.
saw free on YT with ads, don't know if it still is.
Oh, it was free on YouTube when you watched it. Interesting. Yeah, YouTube's got some good stuff. I've been impressed with the stuff they'll throw up there for free. I've been very glad. There's a lot of like gems that people can just watch, which is very cool of YouTube, since it's not free to license that stuff, and YouTube just loses money. So very impressive. All right. Trying to think if there's anything else I can do to post. So I can keep slamming it, but it's not getting instant interaction, so it's tough to judge how often I should do that. Let me throw a comic page down and then go from there. And then, yeah, we can boot up some Dark Tide at some point if you like.
Okay. Yeah, and I've been throwing a few out there as well.
Cool. I'm going to retweet in a second. Just the clips full. It's alphabetical, so that's what it is. Web. Let's just throw those on there. Boom. We have a few more hours.
Brett McGowan
Let's make it happen.
said, gonna throw a pizza in the oven BRB.
Yeah, right on. Enjoy. You're making me hungry. I didn't do dinner. How did I phrase that?
Oh, and I saw who Backer 32 is. I'm not going to dox him, but I will say, if you are listening, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Indeed, indeed. Let me put that in. Boom. Then I can tag you and the creative team. I'm not a fast typer. Apart from that, I think it is not. It is not. Okay. That's the other thing that's kind of bugged me with Twitter, is they've changed their search algorithms when you're looking for tags. It really bugs me. So it'll suggest huge accounts before it suggests people you follow. That bugs the fuck out of me. That it didn't used to be that way. It used to be always people you follow first and people who follow you first. It's bugged the hell out of me. So if I don't remember the tag exactly, it's that much harder to find it. There's been a couple of those things. Yeah, go ahead.
Like how many people talk about Twitter and then try to leave Twitter, but then end up coming back.
Oh, the amount of times that alternatives have happened too. I've jumped on Blue Sky and there's actually decent following there, but it is totally just diet Twitter. It's exactly the fucking same except with less features.
And it's funny because most of the stuff that shows up in my feed is people complaining about Twitter.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
If you left it, why are you still talking about it? Just let it go.
Yeah, no, they'll do it again and again. Yeah. No, they just want to complain.
Blue skies.
Yeah, exactly. It's rough. It's rough there. But I've tried. I've got 10 followers on there now. No, 15. All right, a little bit more. But at least they're folks I don't think I'm connected with on Twitter, which is nice. It's other indie comic folks. And again, my goal is still the same. Is I want to catch them all. It's not ever going to happen, but I want to.
Yeah, I've been trying to engage over there. I wasn't really planning on using it too much to try and promote this because I just don't have the
Someone
following
clip
there
that bit of
yet.
Scott showing up in my P to show out of context.
But just trying to engage with some other people, get some other people to look at my work and look at other people's work is just basically what I've been focusing on over there right now.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. It's fun to start a new account. I've done that a couple times. Whatever social feed, right? But it's tough. Yeah, I found it's easiest just to focus on one, which is rough because that one might not be great at conversion. Like Twitter is terrible at conversion. All honesty, like it is awful. YouTube's pretty good because you're directly interfacing, like we did this stream so far, right? It's a lot easier to sell something with at least a modicum of direct input, whereas the passive stuff, if the art's really cool, sometimes that'll work, or if the there's some small factors, but that percentage is much lower. But then you got to get people on over to whatever you're live streaming or YouTubing, right? So it's is what it is. Okay, there's no silver bullet in any of this unless you already have a massive following. Even then, like Edgar Tate's comic fell pretty fucking flat, which I'm so happy about. It's a terrible bug from a terrible person, but it still probably made some money, especially with how much I guarantee he did not pay those artists because those are not quality artists. Okay, so that stuff's out. Okay, that's going. I did a 4-page post so people can actually see what the art they are supporting. I don't have another direct idea. Guess I'll throw out another link to this. Some good tracks playing
Fred
today.
McGowan said, "If I ever end up with copy of Top G, I'm keeping it in the bathroom, but not for reading."
Well, you're only going to get like 20 sheets of wiping, though, brother. It's very expensive toilet paper. Post. Yeah, it looked so bad, and it's just like it's just his arrogance on display. But that's all that guy is. So people like that bug the shit out of me when they come into the
How much
collector's
was
space.
that? It was like 90.
Yeah, it's nearly like $100. Yeah, it's very expensive for like
That's like a
D tier art. Like for like starting a webtoon, your first webtoon at 16 level art. It's rough.
Gotta really believe in the guy, I guess.
Well, he believes in himself like to unbelievable levels, which good for him. Even though enough to sex traffic.
Or also enough to charge $90 for a comic book. That's a lot of self-belief.
You're right. The Punisher Eminem crossover was a vanity project. You're very right, Brett. At least that had some. It makes some sense. Gangster to the Punisher. Gangsters and the Punisher. They don't get along, but they definitely have a direct correlation. There's some really bad, and again, for as much as I have trouble with some folks in the space that make a lot of money, at least a lot of the time they have some level of creative integrity. Top G was the least amount of creative integrity I've ever seen put into a comic book. Yeah, that's saying something.
Fred McGowan said, "At least that was back when Eminem was still cool."
That's also a thing as well. It was also like it helped the Punisher reach new audiences, right? There was actually that level to it. Tough. Okay, is what it is.
How did we get on Top G?
I want to blame it on Brett, but it looks like it was me. Because it's not in his chat. So it must have been me. Must have been, successful, quote unquote, because I don't know how many copies, but financially successful creator-owned comics. I'm sure that was like the general concept, and I found that niche within it somehow. But I don't remember exactly. No, I wanted to blame it on Brett, but it was not Brett. It was not Brett. Damn it. Okay. Let's see here. For the heck of it. I'd like to... Okay. There we go there. Is there anything else I can do on that? Yeah, sure. Let's go over here and I will tag those folks, see if they can get the word out. Preview on @global. That's another place I also use the Discord promotional channels, not just the IronVerse Comics ones, but the multiple Discords I'm in to promote, and I did not do that this one.
Do a crossover with Spider-Man and Charles Bronson.
Now here's a question: why? Oh, they did that. They did a crossover with Spider-Man and Bronson to try and make Charles Bronson relevant again, because he was super relevant for like a decade, and then nothing. Like he was before my time relevant, which is crazy.
I actually had a question since you were talking about, 40K and some of the inspiration that went into, the Jack Irons and the Ironverse. Because I was playing Dark Tide the other night, and they talk about hive cities. Like how much is that tying into the Ironverse? Because I know hive cities were part of the lore in there.
So during the period that the Recluse is taking place, that's like the primary mode of survival for humanity. Famine Inc. has taken over production of food and control of water, right? So he centralized everybody to suffer work for him. And so these massive cities exist during the Recluse's period. In between that are wastelands, ghost towns, right? Where people left because they can't survive on their own, or the robots will hunt them down and drag them into work. It's illegal. He owns the government. It's very much as Orwellian as you can get. And so hive cities were inevitable.
Does the Ironverse have Forge Worlds then?
That's like heroes.
Does the Ironverse have Forge Worlds? Yes, primarily for the ships of the Anu Confederation, or for the weapons of war, double R war.
Sounds like the megacities in Judge Dredd.
Yes, very much megacities. That would be the other bit. And 40K kind of had they took hive cities from megacities. So it's the same creative iteration pool, gene pool that we're pulling from. Very much megacities. I'd say closer to that than hive worlds, because hive worlds are far more. Again, it's super gothic and super grimdark, right? Very, very grimdark. Whereas Judge Dredd is far more satire, and I think we lean more towards the satirical end than just like, this is awful for awful's sake. It does have that, but like if you're looking at them visually and you're thinking about them within IronVerse Comics, it's very much more a mega city than it is a hive city. But yeah, in Forge Worlds, it would mainly be for weapons and for ships and things like that. War needs them to get around, otherwise they're just always... You can think, if we're going to 40K analogy, War has a lot of analogs to how the orcs work, in terms of like building things and fighting amongst themselves and things like that. He does breed and all those things like himself, and it's very survival of the fittest, like the orcs in that case as well. But his armies aren't as resilient as orcs, not even close. He just takes whatever he can get instead of orcs are terribly like, once they're on a world, unless you burn that thing to the ground, orcs will always exist on it because of their spores. War is not like that. You can defeat war off of a planet and reclaim it without having to scorch it. So the Forge World would be kind of like that. There's also would be asteroids and things, again, like the orcs do, where they just build chunks on top of stuff and then have them move around. War also would use what the orcs call rocks, right? Which is just an asteroid with some jets put on the back of it and turned into like a small sustainable ship. A lot of similarities on that level as well, because what 40K did is a lot of logical, what's the word? Extrapolation from the concepts they built. That's how they built their universe, and why it's so like believable and breathable and just built out so well. It's because they take a very core fundamental idea and then extrapolate it 40,000 years, right, or whatever you want to say, or in some cases millions of years, like the orcs or the Krork and all of that to the founding, and it goes back to its big manifestation things, which are the 4 chaos gods and the warp and how life and the old ones and all these different things exist. Like, they took those concepts and they'd find a cool idea, and then they'd both try and figure out how it could fit into the world, but then they'd extrapolate it and how it would expand among throughout time. Again, they did an insane job of making that somehow coherent. There's a lot of massive universes, Marvel, DC, that don't make much sense, that they've had to reboot again and again and again. 40K, they've rebooted a couple times, but never massively, never a actual like direct hard reboot. There's a lot of little soft reboots because they had some lore that was kind of fun and super corny, and they're like, well, we want to take it a little bit more serious, and so they'll reboot part of it. Now this history's rewritten. And I think the biggest one was from like 3rd edition tabletop to 4th and 5th is where the biggest changes were, and then since 5th edition tabletop, it's been relatively consistent. The biggest soft reboot since was the Primaris Marine reboot, where they brought Golem in, the Primarch of the Ultramarines, the son of the Emperor. When they brought him back, when they woke his ass up out of stasis, that was a big universe change, and they soft rebooted out of that. But it wasn't a hard reboot. Again, so all these histories and all these mechanics and all these different things still fit together. They tried a harder reboot with Warhammer Fantasy, and I don't think it went how they wanted it to. They wanted to reshape Warhammer Fantasy and how the tabletop game worked to be more like 40K, and it didn't work.
DC are supposed to be hub universe that feels small. 40K keeps innovating on itself, and the universe just seems to get bigger even when the ideas.
Yeah, what was that? It was like, I forget what they called it. But there were some pretty cool things that came out of it. I'm trying to think of, there was one game that I was playing that was interesting.
Out of what? The soft reboot?
It was the from the fantasy, like that was recent.
Oh, okay. So the total Warhammer games take place in original Warhammer Fantasy, and they're so much better for it. I haven't played anything that came out of Age of Sigmar, the hard reboot that they did.
That's what it was, Age of Sigmar. Yeah, Warhammer Underworld, pretty fun.
Oh, cool. Conceptually, they wanted to have a Space Marine faction, right? And within the lore that they established within Warhammer Fantasy, they just couldn't figure out how to do it. Because the Space Marines literally are what make Games Workshop money. Whatever they put a Space Marine in or on makes money. It's just prints it. And so the fantasy had been losing money for so long that they're like, well, maybe we can reboot it. And then they turned it into sort of a party game where there was a lot of like actual you as the player had to say or do certain things that was very anti-tabletop for what fantasy was. And not only did they reboot it into Age of Sigmar, they killed fantasy. So they weren't supporting old fantasy anymore. And so all these old armies and things were useless. Thousands and thousands of dollars people had invested. Games Workshop as like and the Black Library in particular. Black Library did an incredible job of making 40K in particular one of, again, it's my favorite, besides, again, IronVerse, my favorite fantasy universe, fictional universe, period. Because they had a whole wing dedicated to that's what they do. And they did that forever, and they're still doing it, but they've kind of slowed down. The new comics through Disney haven't been terrible. They haven't been particularly good, but they haven't been terrible. I really expected with Disney, and particularly Marvel, getting the license to 40K to produce comics, that they'd suck. Because the old British comics had the Judge Dredd feel.
Sadly, the Space Marines being the moneymaker means the other factions tend to get neglected. The Eldar models have out of date for years.
10th edition, they're trying to fix that. They've redone the Tyranid. They're doing new Tyranid models now, Brett. They're working on it. The fact they woke up the Lion was really nice too. Oh man, I can talk about 40k lore forever. 10th edition lore is interesting. I'm excited. We've got a second brother out there besides Goleman, because Goleman's fine. Goleman's like it's their poster boy, right? Never my the Ultramarines got me interested because they were the most marketed faction of 40k ever. The Ultramarines, like when you thought about 40k, they made sure you were looking at a blue Space Marine. But they don't interest me as much as once I dove in. I was like, oh, look at all these different flavors, blah blah blah, and then I found the Space Wolves, and I was like, oh my god, on so many different levels, I resonate with this faction, from them being slightly the good guys. They're anti-authoritarian to a lot of the real evil shit that goes on in the Imperium, but the tribalistic bits, their shamanic bits. There's so much I love about Space Wolves. In fact, I've read many of the novels because of that, and I don't read novels. But yeah, 40k is dope.
Big speculation in the 40k spaces is the con might be next White Scars Primarch.
Should we get some Dark Tide going?
Sure. I'm just seeing if there was any more engagement, because it's going to be very difficult for me to switch on and off of that. But yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, let's try it, because I have no idea how to do the Fred code and all that fun stuff. Yeah, it would be interesting if they wake up the Khan. I like the Khan too. The Khan's a neat character. I think the White Scars have been done dirty for a long time as just kind of a side faction. The Mongolian Space Marines. Sure. So I'm guessing I go into Dark Tide, and then there's like add friend
There's
or
a
something.
social tab, and I
Okay.
sent you my friend code over on the Twitter
Okay.
DMs.
Cool. So what I think was happening that was crashing Dark Tide when I was streaming it earlier was a memory overload on my graphics card. So I lowered the quality to as low as it can get while still being 1080p, and that was no problem when I was streaming it earlier. So we should be good. I shouldn't crash.
Fingers crossed.
And allegedly, something really cool that happened is I found a small computer company that was running a giveaway on a graphics card, and I fucking won that giveaway. So I've been in
Nice.
contact with them. It's a 4060 Ti. It's a $400 graphics card, but that was a nice pick me up. I just was like, okay, how much of a scam is this? So I've been kind of back and forth on it, but they shipped it allegedly. So we'll see if it actually arrives, and if so, I'll be able to stream this a little bit better. Looks like I need to get in. What level are you playing at?
Brett McGowan.
I think I'm
Said.
5. 'cause I
Yes,
just
Cody
barely
Hook Scars
started.
are underrated.
Perfect.
This came out on Game Pass, I think Tuesday.
Yes, they did the crossplay, and then they did a class overhaul, and so you're playing a much better Dark Tide than I ever did. Up until I've put like 12 hours into it the last couple days. It's so much fun. The class overhaul was like super needed. I'm so glad they did it. It makes a big difference. So yeah, I have a level 6 Psyker. Just keep it at that.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm loading in now.
The Zealot.
Oh, guy, the priest. Nice. That's fun. The only one class that gets the Eviscerator Chainsword, which is dope. I love the Eviscerator. Just conceptually, wielding a chainsaw. It's one of the most iconic things in 40k is that chainsword. And then,
They got the Chain Axe too.
yeah. But they are also the only ones who get access to the Flamer, which is nice. I love flamethrowers.
Really? I didn't see that. I'm gonna go check that out.
Yeah. Okay. So how do I do this? So exit, social. Okay. Invites. Find players. Probably find players, isn't it? Yes, it is find player. Okay. Cool. Then I need to switch on over to this, just so that I don't dox any DMs while I'm looking at this friend code. Okay, a little bit of movement. Thank you, Brett, for the retweets. Really appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, just thanks for hanging out with us too.
Very much so. There it is. Okay, God, it made it harder to copy things out of tweets as well. I don't know how. I'm hoping Twitter shakes out to be better after all this, because some of the changes are actually all right, but a lot of them are very much not.